Today we're going to have a look at deforestation. Now, forests are often called the lungs of the earth because they provide oxygen, absorb carbon dioxide, and they support biodiversity and help regulate our climate. But around the world, forests are disappearing at an alarming rate. Now, deforestation is the large-scale removal of forests, usually to make way for human activities like farming, mining, or urban expansion. Now, this process destroys natural ecosystems and has wide-ranging impacts on the environment, wildlife, climate, as well as people. Let's have a look at a few graphs that show the severity of deforestation in different countries. The first country that we're going to have a look at is Malaysia. So here we can see that from 2016 to 2017 there was a drop, then a slight incline to 2018, and then an overall drop until 2020. Here we can see that COVID-19 that happened in 2020 had an impact on deforestation, decreasing it overall. We can see that on average about 18,000 hectares of forest is lost every quarter, which is a lot of forest to be lost in 3 months. Next we have Brazil, and Brazil has one of the highest deforestation rates in the world. The Amazon rainforest is being cleared at an alarming rate, mainly due to cattle ranching and soya farming. Here we can see that there was a slight overall increase from 1988 to 2004, and then deforestation decreased significantly up to 2011. But still in 2011, they were clearing 5,000 square kilometers of forest each year. We then have deforestation in India. Now this graph shows us the rate of deforestation as well as the rate of reforestation in light blue. Now in India, due to rapid urbanization and agriculture expansion, significant forest loss, especially in central and northeastern regions, has occurred. So we can see that from the 1930s to 2013, deforestation overall decreased, but reforestation also decreased up to 1995 to 2005, and increasing slightly but still doubling in the years 2005 to 2013. In Indonesia, on the other hand, forests are often cleared for palm oil plantations and also illegal logging. This also threatens endangered species like the orangutan that occurs in Indonesia. So here we have a graph, and the heading says that Indonesia has lost nearly 10 million hectares of forest in 20 years. We can see in the graph that there's an overall increase from the 2000s to about 2015, and then it decreases to 2020. Here at its most, just past 2015, they had a total of 800,000 hectares lost of forest. Globally, we can put it in perspective as we lose an area of forest the size of a football field every second. So between 1990 and 2020, the world lost over 420 million hectares of forest. So here's a global data map showing where deforestation happens the most. So we can see in red, especially in South America and Asia, where most of deforestation occurs, and then green, where the least occurs, showing where replantation actually occurs. So we can see that in Central Asia and even in India at the moment, reforestation occurs, whereas in Africa, we don't really have too much loss of forest, so between 0 and 100,000 hectares. There are several causes of deforestation, and we can group them into two main groups: human causes and then also natural causes. So on the human causes, the first cause is due to road building. Roads open up forests to settlers, lodges, and farmers, often leading to more deforestation. Forests are also cut down to make more roads, to make more areas accessible for humans. Secondly, we have hydropower projects. So large dams will flood vast forest areas, displacing wildlife and people. Forests are cleared to provide space to build these big dams for hydropower. Then, of course, there's for agriculture. Here, forests are cleared for crops and livestock, especially cattle grazing, soya, and palm oil production. Trees are also cut down for logging, so these are cut down for timber, furniture, and paper. Sometimes it's done legally, but oftentimes it's done illegally as well. Then, as our populations grow, forests are cleared to build homes, towns, and infrastructure to provide more living area for humans. Lastly, under the human causes, we have mining. So mining for gold, oil, and other resources often involves removing entire forested areas and polluting water sources nearby. Then on the other hand, we also have natural causes of deforestation. But not all deforestation is caused by humans. Natural causes like forest fires also contribute. So in dry conditions, forest fires, often worsened by climate change, can destroy large areas of forest. Some fires are started naturally by lightning, but others are caused by humans and then spiral out of control because of the environmental conditions. Now, with everything, we always have cause and effect. So let's look at the effects or impacts of deforestation, and we'll start with the environmental impacts. Now, one of the reasons why forests are being cut down is to provide for farming practices, and one of these practices is monocultures. Now, monocultures is a farming practice where only one type of crop is planted. Now, when this is done, it reduces the biodiversity of an area. Think about it. We have this big forest with different trees, different plants, different insects, different wildlife, different birds. And when we cut that all down and the wildlife dies and we plant it only with one crop, we only have one plant species, and the animal species that we'll have will also decrease because of the food availability in the area. Secondly, because of interception and infiltration that decreases because of all the plants that's being eradicated, it reduces evapotranspiration. Now this will result in less precipitation, so there would be less rain. This impacts the nutrient cycle as well, because if there's no rain, that means that there's no water cycle. Because of the less interception, it also means that the overland flow will increase, which can then lead to soil erosion and sedimentation of the rivers. Now the sediment in the rivers builds up, reducing their capacity and increasing the flood risk. Now this lack of interception also increases the leaching of nutrients. Because we have fewer trees, it increases the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere, adding to the enhanced greenhouse effect. Now we know that the majority of nutrients in the tropical rainforest are held in the biomass. So when the trees and vegetation are cleared by deforestation, the main store of nutrients are removed. We then also have our social effects or our social impacts. Now, indigenous communities have less land to sustain their traditional way of life when deforestation occurs. This means that land does not get the opportunity to recover and there will be less food available. Now, it's not all bad. There could be an improved quality of life for some people because there would be increased incomes and jobs availability. But indigenous people and communities need to give up their way of life, leading to a loss of culture and traditions. Deforestation can also increase the risk of landslides, which can destroy homes and block roads for indigenous community. It means that there's a loss of potential medicines as well, because we know a lot of our medicine comes from traditional and indigenous communities. There's also an increased risk of flooding in these settlements. Some research also has shown that incidence of malaria increases as deforestation increases as well. Lastly, we have economic impacts. Now, in the short term, profit from timber, farming, and mining increases the country's GDP. But in the long term, the loss of the ecosystem services like clean water and air can devastate a community. There's increased disaster risk like floods and landslide. There's decreased ecotourism potential, and there's a cost of climate change damage. This graph is a good example on the economic impact that deforestation has on a country. This is the economic impact of Brazil's deforestation. So they show you the two biomes being deforested. So those are the bar graphs, and we can see that they decrease in area. But then the line graph, which is soya production and beef production, increases as deforestation increases, meaning that the country is making more money from farming as they are getting rid of the natural vegetation and forest in the area. So overall, we can see that there's risk and reward to deforestation, but overall, deforestation has a negative impact on social, environmental, and economic status.